Hey friends, how are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing so well and welcome back to another brands video. So I am a full-time reseller on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari online platforms, and I'm here to help you guys to be able to recognize these brands when you're out thrifting, if you want to resell some things on the side or make it your full-time job as well. So even if you're just looking for personal use, I still think this is incredible to know what brands are worth good money, because if you find those while you're out thrifting, then you're going to have an amazing piece in your own wardrobe. So we're going to be covering today 35 different summer swim, kind of like really warm weather brands that will be really good to be listing now for the upcoming summer season to be reselling. So I have 35 brands I went through and picked out for today's video. So this is always a lot of work. I love to go through, give you guys a little bit of a taste of each brand, not go too in depth, but then also put up on the screen what the tag for that brand looks like. So that way you can recognize it when you're out in the wild. So for all of that work, please, if you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button and give today's video a thumbs up. It helps me out so much. So now let's jump into the 35 brands you need to know for the summer and what is going to resell for good money. So let's do this. So the first brand on my list is called Hunza G. Now, this is a swimwear brand, and I had a lot of requests for swimwear brands to know because it's just one of those categories that is really hard to differentiate between brands that are nice and brands that will sell well and brands that won't. So this is one brand that you should be on the lookout for. And from what I can tell, I think almost all of their swimsuits are one size fits all, which is probably not exactly the case, but there aren't going to be individual sizes on these. So that's a good thing to know. Then Hunza G, they're really an interesting fabric to the swimsuit. It's not your typical more like a polyester kind of feel to it. They have like a thick texture to them, but these swimsuits can resell for really close to $100 for just like a one piece. If you find a bikini set, again, close to $100, sometimes more for these swimsuits, which is really good for swimwear. And so if you see this out while you're out in the wild, it's a good one to pick up for sure. Number 2 is a brand I brought up before in my 50 best brands list, but this is a very strong summer presence to this brand as well, and that is Zimmermann. Zimmermann, very good brand. I would pick up almost everything I would find probably from this brand, especially after I looked it up. But Zimmermann also, it's an Australian, it started off in Australia. Australia is really known for its kind of, summer vibes. So there's a lot of really beautiful summer pieces, things that are more lightweight, some really gorgeous dresses from Zimmermann that would do really well in this coming summer. And pieces from Zimmermann can resell upwards of $100 all the time, especially if you find a more substantial piece, of course. I would say I think they also have swimwear as well. So it's definitely something to be on the lookout for. And then number 3 is Frankie's Bikinis. Frankie's Bikinis is a really popular swimwear brand, and even if you find just a single piece from them, even just a bottom or just a top, you can still sell a single piece for close to $30, I would say. So this one is not probably as high end as some of the other ones on this list, but I do think Frankie's Bikinis is something that maybe you'll be able to find more often depending on where you live in the country. So Frankie's Bikinis, if you could find a set or even a lot of these pieces, even a one piece, those things are going to sell for more close to $75. So I think it's worth it. It's definitely worth being on the lookout for. And especially, I do feel like a lot of thrift stores don't mark up swimwear. So swimwear is one of those hidden sections that if you find something good, you could really turn a good profit on something. Then brand number 4 is Caroline Constas, and this is a gorgeous brand, and I picked this for a summary brand list because a lot of these pieces are very flowy and florals. There's dresses, there's tops, and pieces from all over in this brand. Their dresses, their tops, and even maybe a skirt, things like that can do really well. And so you're looking at a dress going for around $100, sometimes more, and then a top even can do really well and go for $50, $75. So I find that to be a win and something that I'm constantly looking for, and I have not been able to find yet, but I hope to someday. Then number 5, this brand has been advertising to me like crazy, but I get it because I love this brand. It's so gorgeous. It's called Hill House. And Hill House has a great resale value, but also their pieces are very expensive up front. They make so many gorgeous pieces. They're very girly, very flowery. They're really known for their nap dress. So a dress that has, more of a tier kind of flowy silhouette, but with a ruffle sleeve. That's what they're really known for, but they have a lot of gorgeous pieces. So if you ever find Hill House, definitely check the comps. And then number 6 on the list is something that is definitely I think, a little bit more approachable for the masses. A lot of these brands are things that maybe you'll find once in a while, so you want to be prepared for when you find that brand. But this brand, I feel like you could probably find more often, and that is FitFlop. Now, FitFlop has a really good sell-through rate. So it sells pretty quickly in my experience, and usually they're not really marked up at thrift stores because a lot of things from FitFlop are more like sandals or flip-flops. So things from this brand, and there's more than just like sandals, but there's sandals and things like that, things that are more summery, can go really well during these coming months that we're going to be heading into. And they don't sell for tons of money, but for how, usually the cost is pretty low for these pieces, I would say I've sold FitFlops for between like $35 and $50 pretty frequently. So I think $35 to $40 is a really good price for a pair of flip-flops. So I would definitely be on the lookout for these. And number 7 is a brand that I've recently stumbled across, and again, falling in love with it. It is Dodo Bar Or. And again, such a nice brand. So many of these pieces are going to be retailing for hundreds of dollars probably. And that's the case for a majority of pieces that on this list. Things that will resell for $100 usually cost like $700 retail price. So Dodo Bar Or is really, really nice for summer. And it does have some really well-made pieces. And single pieces I was finding were selling for about $50 each. And then dresses were selling for around $100. So definitely want to be on the lookout for this. Actually, this tag is metal, and so you can see that from the picture, but then also the size will not be with that metal tag. It'll be on the inside with the materials. So if you are having trouble finding sizes, if you ever do find this brand, that's where it's going to be. So that's number 7. The number 8 is another one I've talked about, but is really good for spring and summer, and that's Lilly Pulitzer. It's a more recognizable brand. It's very easy, I feel, to spot this brand in general because it's always those very tropical, very bright colors and prints. It's very similar to like a Vineyard Vines as well, but Vineyard Vines doesn't necessarily keep its retail value as highly as Lilly Pulitzer does, in my opinion. So again, maxi dresses, long pieces, substantial pieces are going to do the best from Lilly Pulitzer. But I've also sold like sandals from her for $50 as well. So I think that honestly, I would look up pretty much everything you find. The things that aren't going to sell for as much are probably going to be those like tank tops and things that are a little bit less substantial, maybe a pair of shorts. Number 9 is Tory Burch. Personally, I love selling Tory Burch. It moves so well for me. But I brought up Tory Burch because Tory Burch does make a lot of really noticeable sandals, and those are great for the summer months. Tory Burch sells well for me all year round. Like a pair of boots would be amazing, but they always have flats that are doing really well, and they're the Riva flats, the ones that have her logo on the front. And then we also have a lot of like thong sandals from Tory Burch that do really well, as well as some more recent styles that have been coming out. So Tory Burch is very easy to spot usually because of its logo on the front of shoes, but it's one that will resell for close to probably, it depends on which piece you find, but shoes go for about $50 pretty easily, especially if they're not even substantial. Like I've sold sandals for $50. If you find a more substantial piece from Tory Burch or a purse, those will go for like more close to $100. So definitely worth knowing. And the number 10 is a brand that again is a more recent one for me, and I really want to find it now. It's called Mara Hoffman, and she makes some really beautiful, again, very summer forward in her designs, which I am loving. I'm here for it. The swim pieces from her I was finding were selling for around like $50, which again, for swimwear, I feel like is great. Swimwear is not usually that expensive to make, but it can do really well in the resale market. Dresses from her were reselling for between like $100 and $200, sometimes more, but pretty much right in that kind of $100, $200 range is where I would usually land with listing. But man, those dresses were gorgeous. And so I would definitely recommend doing a little bit more research on each of these brands that I bring up. Pull it up on Poshmark or eBay or just their website and just get a feel for what they look like. I'm definitely giving you a help with the labels, but I think this is a great starting spot for doing your own research too. Then we're gonna jump into what I have deemed my summer bridal moment, and that would be bridesmaid dresses. There are so many great brands to resell in the bridesmaid world and in the wedding world too. It's just that bridesmaid dresses are usually so expensive. So if you're in a lot of weddings, I would definitely be looking for a bridesmaid dress on a resale site. So it's a great kind of category to be picking up to resell if you're into reselling clothing in general. Formal wear is one of the best categories to resell. So I compiled a list of some different bridesmaid looks I would be on the lookout for. Maybe I'll make a whole video on this in the future, but I wanted to include some of these because a lot of weddings take place in the summer. So we're gonna head into spring and summer bridesmaid dress sites and like brands. So the first one I have on here is probably the most affordable of the pieces, and that is Azazi. Now this is not going to resell for $100 because I think they all retail close to $100, but for maybe 40, 50 bucks to find an Azazi dress, as long as they're unhemmed and unaltered, I think they can do still pretty well. And that's one of the things to note for most dresses in all of this bridesmaid category. A lot of them do get hemmed, so you have to check the bottom seams and check the inside seams on like the waist to see if things have been altered. So Azazi, and then number 12, Jenny Yu. I do love all of her dresses as well, and a lot of those can resell for around like 75 to 100. And then we have Reformation, which I did not realize had a whole bridal line, but they do. So a lot of Reformation dresses can be used, you know, just as bridal dresses, but they also have been more running into that bridal lane and trying to get on sites like Beholden, like Anthropologie's wedding line brand. And so we've been seeing a lot more Reformation dresses popping up in the wedding world, which I think is really great. So Reformation anything I would always check up, but Reformation in like a long formal gown is a great pickup. You're gonna look at $100 probably on the resale at least. Number 14 is Haley Page. Haley Page Occasions is also part of this kind of world, and she has been known. She was also on Say Yes to the Dress. She's one of the designers that's been on that show, but she makes gorgeous dresses. She makes gorgeous wedding dresses. So if you find one of those are expensive. But for bridesmaid looks as well, she has some pretty expensive dresses. I think they usually retail for like $400. So I'm looking probably at $100 on the resale market. Then we have Beholden, which is something I just mentioned. Beholden, BHLDN, is a brand that is from Anthropologie. It's their wedding line. So they have things that are in-house, which are gorgeous dresses. My wedding dress is from there. But also they have other brands that they carry, much like a Revolve kind of situation. So depending on what you find, if it's a bridesmaid dress, their bridesmaid dresses retail for, you know, like $200 to $400 usually. But then their wedding dresses are thousands of dollars. So very beautiful, but if you can find that, it's a very interesting tag, and it's Beholden. That's what his name is. Again, in that formal wear, bridal wear category is Mac DeGaulle, and he makes things that can be used as bridesmaid dresses, but also wedding guest dresses and mother the bride dresses fall in this category too. So this is a brand that you can resell for $100, $200, $300. I've sold, I think, one piece from him for around $200, and that was a pretty quick sale as well, so not too bad. And then a newer one to me is V. Chapman. And man, I was falling in love with these bridesmaid dresses. So many cute, like tiered ruffles, but more like bodycon styles, which I feel like is very unique. So they have some very feminine styles, and I would definitely be on the lookout for this tag. It's very unassuming, but it can resell for, you know, like $200. So $100, $200. Again, formal wear can go for good money. And then again, another bridesmaid is Sakin and Babi. I could be butchering that. I did look up videos to pronounce all of these brands, but give me some grace in the comments, please. Sakin and Babi, they are another bridesmaid dress line, and they also make other dresses as well. But they are a gorgeous set of designers, and they also have some of their dresses on the Beholden site. So I decided to include them too because the resale on these was also right around $100, and they were selling pretty frequently. So I thought that would be a good one to be on the lookout for. And then we also have Elliot with 2 L's and 2 T's. Elliot is also sold on Revolve as well as the Beholden site, and they resell for around $100, and they are really gorgeous, like really pretty, intricate pieces too. And then we have one more in this bridesmaid world, this wedding world, and that is Misha, M-I-S-H-A, Misha? I think it's Misha, but they also make some gorgeous, stunning bridesmaid dresses that will resell for over $100. So definitely some ones to know. And then number 21 is new to me, is a brand that I have just been so in love with. I just want to find a piece so I can keep it for myself. It's gonna be hard, but I think it's gonna be worth it because this is a gorgeous brand. It is Bonjanin. Bonjanin, person that founded this brand, like she mixes some like Indian culture into these dresses, and they all have at least one thing on them that was like done by hand, like some personal handiwork on them. They're gorgeous. They resell for such good money, and they are stunning. Very, very intricate, very beautiful colors and designs, very like authentic looking. They're so nice. So if you can find this brand, they also have, you know, like tops and things too, and those can sell for good money. But if you find a dress, at least $100 on the low end, I would say, for a piece from them. So pretty. Number 22 is Farm Rio. Again, very loud, exuberant pieces, very reminiscent. It's a little similar to Banjanin, but they have more, I would say it's not necessarily more accessible, it's just more common to find because they've also worked with places like Anthropologie and things like that. So I would say Farm Rio, again, more substantial pieces for sure, but even if you find a top or a pair of shorts or a little dress, I think that those could still sell for at least $50, which is not bad. And then number 23 is Three Graces London. Very nice silhouettes on these pieces, and again, perfect for summer. A lot of like, I found to be like neutrals and like whites, which I think are really stunning in summer. And these pieces, again, were selling for around $100, sometimes more. So a good one to know. Followed by 24, Cult Gaia. Cult Gaia is another one of those brands that they do have, I think they have some swimwear, but then they also just have a lot of pieces that are really, they lend themselves well to warm weather, and so I wanted to include them in this as well. They, again, depending on what kind of piece you find, more substantial is always better, friends. I would say more substantial pieces, easily $100. Things that are less substantial, maybe just like a bra top or bikini top, is gonna be more like $50 probably. So then number 25 is Mateau, and they have swim as well as really like voluminous dresses with like fun puff sleeves, things like that. Gorgeous brand. And I saw that a lot of those dresses were selling for like $200 resell, which is amazing. That's a great price for anything that you're reselling. And then their swim was also doing pretty well. I would say, again, $50 to $100 for a swimsuit is not bad in my eyes. It's hard to find a swimsuit that will sell for more than that unless you go up a level to like completely designer. We're talking Dolce & Gabbana, things like that. So I think $50 to $100 for a swimsuit is great. Number 26 is Love Shack Fancy. Love this brand, and they also have very whimsical, girly items, a lot of florals, but also just like pieces that hug the body well and are great for summer, usually lightweight. They're not made out of sweater material. They have ruffles and like movement to them. And so that made the brand list as well. And usually a Love Shack Fancy dress can resell between like $75, $150, somewhere in that range. So not too bad. Then we have number 27 is swimwear made by Dawn. Again, this brand tag is so unassuming, and that's why I wanted to include her. But her swimwear was reselling for around $50. And so if you find a one piece or like a whole set, we're looking at $50 to $75. A single piece is gonna be less, but made by Dawn, I would never have known myself. So I wanted to include that brand tag because it kind of looks like something that somebody made and then was selling on Etsy. And then it had that like, oh, handmade by your grandma Jane, you know, kind of look to it. So I want to include that one for you guys because I think that should help you out. Number 28 is the brand Fig, and it's spelled F-I-G-U-E. Golly gee, I want to find this brand so much. It can resell so well. Not only do they have like dresses and tops, they also have shoes. Their shoes can do exceptionally well, like $100 for a pair of shoes. But they also have dresses, and the dresses also around $100. Tops, maybe more like $50. Still worth picking up almost always though. It's one of those brands that not many people know about, and so then it doesn't normally get marked up, which we love. So Fig, definitely on my list of things I would love to find someday, as well as Rhode, R-H-O-D-E, Rhode. They have so many good pieces, lots of beautiful dresses, of course, but Rhode, again, is reselling for around $100, sometimes more. So it does definitely go for good money, but you have to make sure you can find it at the right price. And then number 30 is J.W. Anderson. And this is an important brand I feel like to bring up because they have made a collab with Uniqlo, and the Uniqlo collab does not do great, but just by itself, JW Anderson can do well. And I wouldn't say that the like separate pieces, like maybe a pair of pants, maybe a top, I don't know if those do the best, but I was looking more so at shoes from JW Anderson, and their shoes were doing really well. They have especially like this slide that would be really good for summertime, and those were reselling for like $200 all the time. So I would definitely be on the lookout for this brand, but it is really upsetting when you find that it's a collab with, Uniqlo instead of the actual brand designer. So very upsetting, but still can do well. And then number 31 is C New York, SEA. Now, for the love of me, I believe I left this at the thrift store the other day. I don't know why. It was a couple weeks ago. I guess I just didn't recognize the brand at the time. C New York, they have lots of different pieces as well, like tops, bottoms, dresses. I'm looking at dresses for the summer. I think dresses are gorgeous in the summer, and dresses that have volume to the sleeves, to the silhouette, they were reselling really well right now, and they were reselling for around like $60 to $100, which I think is a great price, especially if you can get it at the right price. So I decided to include her on my list. Number 32 is RXO. Now, RXO makes so many stunning pieces. I'm looking at dresses, of course, because I'm a dress gal, but they have a lot of stunning and really bold prints, really fun pieces. The thing about this one is you have to be very careful with this one like you do with JW Anderson, with Uniqlo, because they had a Target collab. And some Target collabs can do well. I have admitted that before, and it's very true. This one does not do a ton of great movement. Like, we're looking at like $20 for a collab piece, maybe less. But if you can find RXO by itself, anything from this brand, I feel like can do really well and go for $100. But if you find something from the Target collab, it's going to be more like $18. So you got to be careful with that one. Number 33 is the brand Alame, and I think it is so nice. It is a great brand, very whimsical, a little bit tropical, and then there's a lot of muted colors, at least from all of the research I was doing. It just had a very whimsical feel to it. Really fun kind of patchwork pieces, but like not actually patchwork together, more like printed patchwork. Very interesting, definitely one to look more into. But Alame, I was looking, and a lot of their pieces that we're reselling right now, again, are dresses going into summer, but they were reselling between $100 and $300 pretty conservatively. Some of them were going for more, some a little bit less, but I would say I'd be very surprised if you sold something for less than $100. And I would say you could pretty easily sell something for $200, $300 from this brand. So again, definitely one to be on the lookout for. Number 34, we have two left. 34 is Louisa Ballou. And I had never heard of this brand until I was doing research, but she makes these strappy swimsuits that are very popular, very sexy, and resell for $100. So there's like, straps coming across at the waist, at the top. It's very interesting looking, very baddie for sure. They will resell for good money though. So again, check that swimsuit section. You could be finding a Louisa Ballou piece and then make $100 easy. And then number 35 on this list is the brand Jacquemus. Now, I looked up many ways to pronounce this, and I believe that's correct. Again, give me grace in the comments. But Jacquemus, they make some really nice pieces for summer, but the pieces that we'll do are like hats, accessories, bags. They have these strappy crop tops too that are very summery, and the hats were reselling for $100. Great price for a hat. That's amazing. The bags were reselling for $300 to $500, and then tops were also reselling for around $100 plus, which is crazy, especially because they were mostly, I was looking at the ones that were selling recently at least, they were mostly like kind of bandos with strappy bits all over. So really exciting brand to find if you can, and I think it would resell for hundreds of dollars possibly. So that's another great brand to be on the lookout for. There are 35 of those So there are 35 more brands for you guys to look more into, to be aware of. Memorize those tags so that when you find them, you will be able to recognize them and not leave them behind like I have done in the past. And I've done a lot of research for you, so hopefully that will benefit you guys and hopefully me as well. Maybe we'll find some pieces out in the wild. Let me know down below if you found any of these pieces before, or if there are any other brands you would add to my list. I know I can't cover them all, so it's always helpful to have you guys put those in the comments. But thank you guys so much much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And until the next video, bye.